Hello artists, this is a two-part demo. The first quick section is to evaluate and discuss using line to create different values, the same way that you would with a graphite pencil set. But in this case, you're going to be using a fine tip pen. So you have these two Sharpies at your disposal. You may have other black felt tip pens as well that you can use. And then part two is going to quickly talk about how to take your sketches or an image, a photo, an illustration, and how to really plan using this type of line work, preparing for etching. So to quickly show you an example of my completed sheet here, you can compare it with the handout that you want to work through. I would mainly use the ultrafine Sharpie, and I like to start in a lighter area and work towards dark. So just like we would do with any other value scale. So if you were doing just hatching, doing it slightly differently than these ones on angles, you could go vertical. And as I'm wanting to create a deeper value, I just want to add more. So you're wanting things spaced closer together. And closer as you continue along, okay? Until eventually you're nearly at a full deep black. You want the values you're creating to feel very similar to the example above. You'll notice towards the bottom, there is a little space that says to invent your own technique. So here I had done just sort of like a herringbone pattern. You could do it with, I don't know, waves. And another one that's not really on this handout, but it's a very useful technique aside from the hatching, cross-hatching, scribbles or squiggles and zigzags. I'll actually just use this space. It's called stippling. And so you could just use the pen to fill it. Think pointillism. And again, you're just going to start to build up the density, shrink down the spacing, but increase the quantity as you go along, right? Until basically, as you work your way to the deepest, it's almost creating a fully dark zone or an area. So you can go crossways, up and down, and just kind of take your time working through this, developing those values using a single line, okay? This sheet is good to keep handy as you move to your sketchbook. So I have a sketch printout, grayscale of a illustration that I had done previously. And the way you want to really prepare your sketches for the etching project is a couple of things. The first thing is you want it to scale or to size. So on the handout, you'll notice there is a minimum and a maximum. So minimum size is about a postcard size. So 4 by 6 inches, okay, in either direction, right up to a maximum sort of full page sketchbook. So we'll call it an 8 by 10 inch. And of course you can do variations. Like this one here is actually a square, so you're not stuck in that rectangular format. You might plan, like this one is here, a 6 by 6 inch plate, and whatever size you will actually etch or scratch at, okay, that is the size that you want your sketch to be. You're going to take the sketch that happened in your sketchbook, and you're going to use a light table or a window or just trace it out on the reverse to flip it. So if you want to mirror it, you can see I've got the bird facing the other direction now. This loose sheet of just printer paper is a really good option. And this loose sheet of paper is going to be taped eventually behind your piece of plexiglass as you begin to etch. So you want to take what you've done in your sketchbook And then you want to translate those same values, again, just using line. So it's good to get through this handout first. And just using that line, you're going to come in, and I won't do the full image, obviously, but you might just want to begin with all these outer contours. Okay, and if I were working in the tail here as an example, I can see where I've got some interesting hatching or cross hatching already. So I may want to keep this one lighter. So I'll come in like that. I might vary the direction of my lines. If you can see this very clearly, varying the direction of my lines, the intensity, the thickness, or the spacing between them, just to create some of those values. Where there's shadows, I may have some cross hatching. You can come in with this thicker Sharpie as well in some of the contours, and it will fill it in a little more quickly in the sketch. So if there is, for example, an area that you wanted almost pure black, okay, or I don't know, shadows here that are quite dark, you can feel free to do that. But you want to really define all of the light and dark values using this kind of mark making within that sketch. Once you've finished adding in all the Sharpie line work to your sketch, the final thing will be to free this from the book, or if you've done it on the scrap already, you're wanting to trim it down to size. So just grabbing your scissors or the paper cutter, your finished value sketch is going to get trimmed down and ready to be taped behind a piece of plexi. So again, I'm gonna have to add in more detail to this demo, which you'll see in the next step, or in the next video. And I may have to do some thinking about what details I want to include, if at all, for the sky or for the grass. Since we're not necessarily working with color in the etching, you're wanting to bring those things to life just using line. And so this will be, when it's all complete, ready to be taped. Just trying to find how I had this beneath my etching, and ready for me to just trace with that etching tool. So that is your first step in working with value using line and working within the sketches, keeping those sizes from a postcard to a large sheet of paper in mind. Good luck and have fun.